It was the kind of town where everyone knew everyone else. Nestled in a quiet valley, Pinebrook had always been the picture of small-town serenity. The gentle hum of daily life was interrupted only by the occasional church bell or the distant call of a train. But that peaceful facade was shattered one cold autumn evening when Claire Reynolds, a beloved local nurse, vanished without a trace. Claire, 32, had been a constant presence in the town for nearly a decade. With her calm demeanor and warm smile, she was the heart of Pinebrook's small hospital. As a pediatric nurse, Claire had a special bond with the children in her care. Parents trusted her implicitly, and in return, Claire had an unwavering dedication to her patients. She was known for her compassion, her quiet strength, and her unshakable reliability. So when she didn't show up for her shift one Tuesday morning, alarm bells went off. Her absence was uncharacteristic. Claire had always been punctual, always on time. Her colleagues, concerned, checked her home that morning. The front door was unlocked. Her purse, car keys, and phone were all missing. But there was no sign of a struggle. The kitchen was tidy, the coffee pot still warm. It looked as though she had simply stepped out for a moment and never returned. The local police were immediately called in, and a search began. Friends and neighbors gathered at the hospital, their faces etched with worry. The town's sheriff, George Daniels, was quick to reassure everyone. "Claire is a strong woman. We'll find her," he said, his voice firm but filled with uncertainty. "It's probably just a case of her getting lost or something simple." But as the days turned into weeks, the investigation took a darker turn. There were no ransom notes, no sightings of Claire, no clues that would lead investigators to a suspect. Local rumors began to spread, whispers that Claire had been the victim of a random act of violence. Some feared the worst, an abduction, a violent crime committed by a stranger who had slipped into their peaceful town. As the search stretched into its third week, Sheriff Daniels grew frustrated. The evidence seemed to evaporate with every passing hour. Then, a break in the case came in the form of a phone call. A witness who had seen Claire's car parked in an abandoned lot on the outskirts of town, a place known for its isolation. The sheriff and his team rushed to the scene, but the car was gone by the time they arrived. However, something else caught their attention, a crumpled note, written in Claire's handwriting, tucked beneath a rusted metal barrel. The note was brief: "I'm sorry. I don't know how to fix this." It was a cryptic message that made little sense at the time. Why would Claire write something like this? Was she leaving on her own accord? Or was she trying to tell someone something before she vanished? As investigators dug deeper into Claire's personal life, they uncovered something that no one had expected. Claire had been carrying on a secret affair. The man in question was none other than Michael Turner, a local teacher and well-known figure in Pinebrook. Michael was married with 2 children, and while there had always been rumors about his infidelity, no one had ever suspected Claire. The news shook the town. Claire, the trusted nurse who had always been a symbol of reliability and integrity, had a side to her that no one knew about. Investigators quickly brought Michael in for questioning. He denied everything. He claimed that he and Claire had ended their relationship months ago, and he had no idea where she could be. But there was one detail that caught the sheriff's attention: Michael had been unusually nervous during the interrogation. His answers were clipped, his gaze evasive. It was enough to raise suspicion. But as the investigation continued, another twist emerged. A few days later, Claire's best friend, Jenna Williams, came forward with information that sent shockwaves through the investigation. Jenna, who had known Claire for years, admitted that Claire had confided in her about a troubling conversation she had had with her husband, Alan Reynolds, just days before her disappearance. Alan, who worked as a local mechanic, had always been known as a quiet, reserved man. The couple had been married for 10 years, and from the outside, their relationship seemed perfect. But Jenna revealed something unsettling: Claire had been contemplating leaving Alan. There had been an argument the night before she disappeared, one that left Claire feeling scared and uncertain. Jenna hesitated to come forward, unsure of what it might mean, but she finally decided to share what she knew. Claire told me she was thinking about leaving Alan, but she didn't know how to do it without hurting him, Jenna said, her voice trembling. She said he was different lately. He wasn't the man she married. The sheriff's team quickly shifted their focus to Alan. It was then that they uncovered a series of disturbing facts. Alan had been having financial problems, and Claire had been the main breadwinner in the family. Furthermore, they found out that Alan had been in town the night of Claire's disappearance, but his alibi was shaky at best. After weeks of intensive investigation, the truth came to light in a shocking twist. Alan had been involved in a desperate attempt to hold on to his life with Claire, using manipulation and coercion to keep her from leaving. When Claire revealed her plans to leave him, he snapped. The argument escalated, and in a moment of rage, Alan killed his wife in a fit of jealousy and fear of losing everything. He then staged her disappearance, knowing it would send shockwaves through the community. Alan had carefully planted evidence to make it appear as though Claire had left on her own, even going so far as to write the note himself. The car in the abandoned lot. He had parked it there to confuse investigators. It wasn't until a neighbor found a hidden, shallow grave on Alan's property that the full extent of his crime was revealed. The evidence was overwhelming, and Alan was arrested, his dark secret exposed for all to see. Pinebrook was forever changed by the discovery. The close-knit town that had once felt invincible was left reeling. Claire's disappearance, which had begun as a mystery shrouded in suspicion, ended in heartbreak for those who loved her. But in the end, her secrets were laid bare, and justice was served. As for Alan, he was convicted of murder, but the damage had already been done. The community was left to pick up the pieces, and Claire's memory lingered in the hearts of those who knew her. The town would never forget the small-town nurse whose disappearance shocked them all, and the dark secrets that lay beneath the surface. In the quaint, quiet town of Oakhaven lived a woman named Claire Reynolds, a dedicated nurse at the local clinic who was cherished by her patients and respected by her peers. But one day Claire vanished without a trace, leaving behind not just her loved ones, but also a community that was eager to understand what could have possibly caused such a disappearance. The police found no signs of struggle or foul play, but discovered a note written in Claire's distinctive handwriting suggesting that she might have willingly left town. Despite this, her family and friends knew something wasn't right, and they weren't the only ones. As the investigation deepened, the lead investigator, Sheriff Brody Walker, uncovered a series of troubling details that painted a grim picture of what might have befallen the missing nurse. At the heart of this mystery was a secret that threatened to shatter the seemingly idyllic life Claire had been leading. What was this secret, and how did it lead to her disappearance? Let's find out. Claire Elizabeth Reynolds, 32 years old, was known for her warm smile and compassionate nature. She was the kind of person who would go the extra mile to help anyone in need. Her dedication to her work was matched only by her commitment to her family and friends. So when she didn't show up for work one Monday morning or call her husband that night as she usually did, her friends began to worry. When Claire didn't turn up for work the next day either, her friend Martha Peterson decided to pay her a visit. She tried calling Claire several times, but the calls went straight to voicemail. When Martha arrived at Claire's house and knocked on the door, there was no reply. Concerned, Martha let herself in using a spare key that Claire had given her. Inside, the house was in order, but Claire was nowhere to be found. In the kitchen, Martha found a note written on a scrap of paper. It read, "I need some time alone. Don't look for me." The note was unlike Claire, who would never ignore her friends' calls and would always let them know if she was going away for the weekend. Something was wrong, Martha realized. She checked Claire's purse and saw that her driver's license and credit cards were missing, but her phone was there. Martha called the police, and when Sheriff Walker arrived, he noticed that the front door had been unlocked, suggesting that Claire hadn't been kidnapped. There were no signs of a struggle or forced entry, and nothing appeared to be stolen. As the investigation began, the police found out that Claire had not been at her usual spot at the clinic and had not seen any patients that week. She had also not withdrawn money from the bank or used her credit cards. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. Sheriff Walker learned that Claire had been seeing a man named Michael Turner. Michael was a high school English teacher, 12 years Claire's senior, who was married with 2 kids. He had separated from his wife, Laura, 3 months ago and was living in a small apartment on the outskirts of town. Michael told the sheriff that he had last seen Claire on Wednesday evening when they had dinner at a local restaurant. According to Michael, Claire was upset about something and had received a phone call during their dinner that visibly distressed her. After the call, Claire abruptly ended their date and drove off. This revelation shocked the residents of Oakhaven. Claire, a happily married woman, was having an affair. To make matters worse, her secret lover was a married man who had recently separated from his wife. The sheriff's wife, Martha, couldn't believe it. "I can't fathom why Claire would be involved with a married man," she said, adding that she had always thought Claire was a good judge of character and wouldn't get involved with someone like Michael. As the investigation progressed, Sheriff Walker uncovered more troubling details. During a search of Michael's apartment, the police found love letters written by Claire. One letter, dated July, read, "My heart beats for you, Michael. Every moment spent with you is a moment cherished. You are my solace, my escape, my everything." Despite this, Michael claimed that he had broken off his relationship with Claire a month ago because he wanted to sort out his divorce first. However, when questioned separately, Claire's husband, Alan, stated that he knew about Michael and Claire's affair and that Claire had intended to leave him for Michael. Who was Alan Reynolds? How did he know about the affair? And what did he mean when he said that Claire had planned to leave him? All these questions swirled in Sheriff Walker's mind as he tried to piece together the puzzle of Claire's disappearance. In fact, Claire had been planning to leave Alan for quite some time. On the day she disappeared, she and Alan had had a heated argument about their impending separation. Alan, a successful businessman, was devastated when Claire told him about her affair. "I never thought she'd cheat on me," he said, his voice cracking. "We had problems, sure, but I thought we could work through them." Alan had never suspected that Claire was having an affair. He had noticed that she had been distant lately, but he had assumed that it was because of the stress at work. The couple had been trying to have a baby for over a year and were getting increasingly frustrated by their inability to conceive. This, along with Claire's growing coldness, had put a strain on their marriage. When Sheriff Walker interviewed Alan about the argument he had with Claire, Alan revealed that he had struck her accidentally during the fight. "It was just a push," he said. "I didn't mean to hurt her." Was Claire's disappearance linked to her argument with her husband? And what was Sheriff Walker's gut feeling telling him? Just when it seemed like the case had hit a dead end, a breakthrough came. A witness came forward and told the police that she had seen Claire's car at a secluded spot near the old Miller farm on the day she disappeared. The sheriff's focus now shifted to Alan. His story seemed shaky, and his alibi for the day Claire disappeared was weak. He claimed to have been at his office, but several of his co-workers told the police that he had left early on Wednesday and didn't return until late in the evening. Moreover, financial records showed that Alan had recently taken out a large loan against his company, suggesting that he was in dire straits. His marriage was falling apart. He was facing financial ruin, and his wife had been having an affair. Alan had a lot to lose, and the sheriff believed that he had something to hide. At this point, Sheriff Walker decided to bring Alan in for questioning. As Alan sat in the interrogation room, Sheriff Walker laid out all the evidence against him. Alan broke down and confessed to killing Claire. He explained that when he heard about Claire's affair, he confronted her. An argument ensued, and in a fit of jealousy and fear of losing everything, he pushed her, intending to scare her. But when he realized that she was hurt, he panicked and killed her. He then took her body to the secluded spot near the old Miller farm, where he had recently dug a grave. As Sheriff Walker listened to Alan's confession, he felt a surge of relief, knowing that Claire's killer would soon be brought to justice. However, there was still one question that remained. Why had Claire decided to leave Alan? Was Michael the reason for the rift in their marriage? Or was there more to Claire's actions than met the eye? Before Sheriff Walker could delve deeper into those questions, his attention was drawn to a new development in the case. A neighbor of the Reynolds had come forward to report a disturbing discovery she had made. While tending to her garden, she had noticed a recently dug grave in Alan's backyard. As the police searched the area, they found a shallow grave covered with leaves and twigs. Upon closer inspection, they uncovered a human skull and other skeletal remains. The discovery sent shockwaves through the small town of Oakhaven. Could this be the missing nurse? The police immediately contacted the medical examiner, who confirmed that the remains belonged to Claire Reynolds. But this discovery raised more questions than it answered. Why had Alan buried Claire's body in his own backyard? And what had he hoped to achieve by doing so? With the discovery of Claire's body, Alan's fate was sealed. He was arrested and charged with murder. At his trial, he confessed to killing Claire, but pleaded not guilty to the charge of concealment of a corpse. The prosecution argued that Alan had intentionally concealed Claire's body to avoid detection, while the defense claimed that he had acted impulsively and had not planned to kill her. In the end, the jury found Alan guilty of both charges. As he was led away in handcuffs, he looked back at the sea of faces in the courtroom and mouthed the words, "I'm sorry." But no apology could bring Claire back. As the town of Oakhaven mourned the loss of their beloved nurse, they also grappled with the realization that their idyllic town was not as perfect as they had believed. Secrets had been buried, lies had been told, and a killer had lived among them all along. The disappearance of Claire Reynolds had not only shaken the town to its core, but had also exposed the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of a seemingly perfect life. Her story serves as a reminder that appearances can be deceiving and that even in the most peaceful of communities, shadows can linger. And though justice may have been served, the scars left behind by Claire's untimely demise will forever remain etched in the hearts of the residents of Oakhaven.